Hey there, anime adaptation of an American cartoon fan.
That's a thing?
Apparently, this is my request video.
Then why are you not reviewing Avatar?
Well, I just figured since every other reviewer on the internet and his mama beat me to it, why should I rush my inevitable Last Airbender review? So here's what I'm gonna do. First off, I'm gonna go over this here show, then I'm gonna compare it to the original, and then give my final opinion. So, in the city of New Townsville, after accidentally altering a batch of Chemical X by dropping in a rice ball, thus creating Chemical Z, Professor Utonium's Mini-Me-style clone, son, Ken, fires a Chemical Z laser beam into an offshore iceberg that appeared after a freak climate swing that's never explained. The berg's demise sends out beams of light called Z-rays. These come in two varieties, white and black. White rays turn you into a superhero, and black ones turn you into a total hole. White Z-rays hit ordinary middle school girls Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, and thus the Powerpuff Girls are born. Together, using their ultra superpowers, they defend New Townsville from crime and the forces of evil. Let's look at the characters. One of the main differences I've noticed between the original Puffs and the Z Fighters is that everyone's a lot dumber this time around. This is particularly evident in the form of the Puff leader, Blossom. First off, she and the others aren't sisters. They're just super BFFs. The little redhead is not the clever master planner her kindergarten counterpart is. In this universe, Blossom is a comic-obsessed fangirl who blows all her free time watching superhero shows.
So, Private, is everybody as sick of her as we are of you?
Funny you should mention that, Sergeant. That's a great segue to talk about Buttercup, the hyper-aggressive, hardcore bad of the team.
Oh look, Sergeant, green's her favorite color as well.
She's largely unchanged from her previous incarnation, but she's picked up an aggressive tomboy streak and a pathological hatred for skirts. Yeah, because no one's ever charged into battle wearing a skirt before. That'd just be silly, right, Maximus? William? Lita? The Blue Bomber is also similar to the original, but she comes off as fairly dim instead of charmingly naive. She's also the rarity of the team, i.e. the fashion-savvy girly girl whose presence is mandated by law. Of the supporting characters, the job of all-purpose technobabble guy is now split between Prof. Utonium and his son, Ken, who any casual viewer of MLP will recognize as having the exact same voice as Spike. Personality-wise, Ken is Dexter minus the red hair and glasses. But he's a charming foil to the girls. He's above the Puffs intelligence-wise, but below them socially. So they complement each other well. Old Prof. Utonium is your basic goofy dad character, in addition to the science! To round out the good guys, there's a new character named Poochie.
I sure hope that's a Simpsons reference.
He's a talking dog whose only job is calling the Powerpuff Girls. But he gets some cutesy-poo comedy in. The mayor and Miss Bellum are back as well. Actually, I think the mayor is smarter this time around. Yes, in a world where everyone's dumber, the mayor has actually gotten better. Or at least more professional. Miss Bellum's back with her Wilson shtick intact. Because of the angles used in most of the shots, she has to resort to covering her face with a clipboard, which gets kind of dumb after a while. And you also might notice that she sounds very similar to a certain princess. Now for the bad guys. Mojo Jojo, once the girl's arch-nemesis, is now downgraded to bumbling comic relief. His plans are bad, and his ridiculously oversized cape looks lame. Even worse is the treatment the Rowdy Rough Boys receive. They went from the oh snap, the girls are totally screwed Psycho Rangers in the original, to three little irritants that badly need a return trip to Bart Simpson's school for tomfoolery. I just can't deal with these little turds. Well, they're off doing their amateur hour bull. The real Rowdy Rough Boys would have had half of Townsville in flames. And honestly, who the hell throws Q-tips? The Gangrene Gang and the Amoeba Boys are similarly worse than the originals, having lost a lot of personality. But they were never cool to begin with, so whatever. Although, both former boys-only clubs have now added lovely ladies to their ranks for, I don't know why. But not all the villains are worse off. Fuzzy Lumpkin is still a big pink fuzzball, but that is the face of terror. Sedusa has gone from a femme fatale with living hair powers to a dormouse who becomes a shape-shifting master criminal whenever she puts makeup on, Jekyll and Hyde style. Okay, now that's kinda cool. Princess is a lot more sympathetic this time around, as she's now the latchkey kid of idle-rich bourgeoisie parents, and second in status to a perfectly perfect big sister. Who is, incidentally, my favorite villain of the whole series. Duchess Morbucks used advanced monitoring devices to study the Puffs before building a supersuit that perfectly replicated hid the girl's powers and weapons, which she then used to save the day from a crisis she herself created, before exiting the show undefeated. And even the suit looks cooler than the Z Girls. Ozymandias himself couldn't have done it any better.
Well planned and well executed. I can give no higher praise.
The original Powerpuff Girls was famous, at least to me, for making a team of kindergarten superheroes basically fight
The devil.
He is one of the creepiest villains to ever grace a primetime kiddie show. And unlike most Puff baddies, he's never really beaten. His plans are foiled, true, but you know he'll be back with another despicable scheme before too long. The Z version of him is pretty similar, but this time he looks more like a jester than a lobster in a Santa Claus coat. He's also fire-powered, with cold as his primary weakness. This is actually an interesting twist. It gives the girls a weapon to use against him, and makes him more infernal. I already mentioned that the girls aren't sisters anymore, so each one comes with her own separate family to play off of. The girls' powers are also a bit different this time. Originally, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup could fly and were super strong because of Chemical X. In Z, the girls' powers come from their costumes, which White Z-Rays basically created.
Let me see if I understood you correctly. A chemically produced energy field was capable of creating, from nothing, advanced communications equipment, rocket-powered boots, and clothing made from fibers durable enough to withstand direct hits from missiles and lasers, and yet still requires machine wash cold.
Well, when you say it that way, it sounds kinda silly. But I like the design of both the costumes and the girls themselves. Their outfits are reminiscent of the original, but still unique to Z. Likewise, the girls have changed, but they're still immediately recognizable. And I agree with most of the changes they did make, like giving Bubbles curly pigtails or Buttercup messy anime hair. But she's got Evangelion little hair thingies for some reason. White and black Z-Rays are the source of the downpour of superpowered mayhem that's hit New Townsville. But black Z-Rays are actually part of his evil life force. And Chemical Z is pretty much completely inexplicable. Okay, it's made from Chemical X by dropping a rice ball into it, but then in a later episode, they explain that they pretty much have no idea where Chemical X comes from. You didn't really need to explain that, kind of like Lucas didn't really need to explain where the Force came from.
What, you don't think midi-chlorians was a good explanation?
My point is, it's possible to explain too much. I do like the way that there are more firmly established limits to the girls' powers. In the original show, like Superman, the Puffs are equally capable of handling anything from street crime to kaiju attacks. So I never felt like they were in any real danger. This time around, despite the fact that no one other than him really got anywhere close to stomping out the Puffs, I still feel like they'd be up creek if Darkseid or Godzilla ever came to Townsville. I also like the girls' weapons. Buttercup has a big hammer, which is awesome. Bubbles has a big bubble wand, which is appropriate. The only one I don't really get would be Blossom, who has a yo-yo. The action, key element of the original show that it was, is cool here. The fights are well animated and exciting, with the odd bit of physical comedy thrown in. And hey, at one point the Puffs get a giant robot, and that's the definition of awesome, right? So the action fits well with the superhero themes of the show. At the end of the day, adapting an American-style superhero team that happens to be made of all girls into a Japanese Maho shoujo anime, complete with transformation sequences, was a clever idea. It's a shame that cleverness doesn't extend into the writing and character development. I also applaud the attempt to tell a continuous story in Powerpuff Girls Z. This show is likable and charming, but it's the same likable and charming as Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura, Tokyo Mew Mew, Pretty Cure, not Madoka though, that's a different thing. The point is, if you're a fan of any of that stuff, or the original show, or you just want to see an interesting adaptation, see Powerpuff Girls Z. I give it 3.5 out of 5. Thanks for watching, I'm the Stupid Private.
Hey kids, today's show is brought to you by the letter 4 and the number potato! I'm a stupid private.